So thank you for inviting me. When I was preparing this presentation, I looked for a certain opening, and since I have a particular interest in the material and sensorial modalities in these works, I found my opening in a certain phrase, to feel with your eyes. And I'll try to show how I connect this phrase with the presence of textile in my selected works of art. And these are one book of poems and one graphic memoir and one graphic narrative. And my interest is to understand the cross-modal representation of embroidery and how it is used in these works, and how we can understand this representation, particularly in relation to memory. So let me introduce you to the works in my investigation. Issa, to the very left here, in English, Father, is from 2013, and this is by Hanne-Rine Moisanen, a Finnish comics artist. Moisanen's work is a graphic memoir, which includes embroidered images. And the one in the middle, Embroideries, from 2018, is by Burcu Sahin, a Turkish-Swedish poet. And this is a poetry collection with a strong textile theme. And the one to the very right is Urmoden by Åsa Schagerström. And in English, The First Mother, 2019, it was published. And this is a graphic narrative, but all images and texts are embroidered in this work and remediated into a printed book. So in different ways, embroidery has migrated into these three works. Schagerström's work, if we start with that, consists of 78 pages told in embroidered images, some of them combined with applications. And the story is more fragmented and associative than her previous albums. And however, it's sequential, and it has been characterized as a graphic novel, but also as embroidered visual poetry. The original embroideries were made on recycled pieces of fabric from torn tablecloths, sheets, and fabric scraps. And in 1921, the 78 originals were displayed in an exhibition. And I'll just show you a picture from that, just to give you an idea. So in this page, here we have two different pages from Schagerström's work. So here we see the protagonist in the center, leaning forward with her whole body, and her long hair is hanging in front of her. And the text applications has a repetitive phrase with the first two words, every day. Every day I start from zero. Every day I repeat. Every day I repair. In Schagerström's previous works, the artist has drawn images of a fragmented and broken body, and a theme that just linger around relationships and family sorrows of different kinds. So when it comes, so through the stitches here, a new body and identity emerges, and a person who is linked to a story of pain and struggle becomes visible, but at the same time is recreated in an embroidered, mended version. So the images visualize the mother, but also trees, roots, animals, and water, and the traces of embroidery are visible. So she's almost transformed as a part of a tree in one image. She is part of nature. She is nature. Moisenen's graphic memoir is a printed book composed of sequential panels with pencil drawings, but also incorporated maps, photographs, and embroidered cloths, all reproduced in the material paper. And this comics artist has used Karelian linen, a material tied to her own roots and in a heritage from her father's side. And I just wanted to show you how this looks if you're not familiar with it. I wasn't. So here's a picture of a Finnish Karelian woman embroidering this Karelian ritual towel, a kaspeike, in 1927. So the story is about loss, and it's about Moisenen's father, who disappears when Moisenen was just 10 years old, and he was never found again. And the parts with the textile are metaphorical and dreamlike visions of, as I interpreted it, her father as a bear, usually crying, and the tears are pearls attached to the textile. Her loss is visualized emotionally here in the embroidered parts, whereas the account of the whole disappearance takes place in the drawn, penciled panels. The use of Karelian textile, or kaspeike, expands and supplements the memory process enacted in the drawn narrative and becomes a mnemonic tool in her graphic memoir and synchronizes her individual past with the collective past. And in her working process, she uses embroidery as a means of unraveling her lost memories. And by working ritualistically like this with stitches, she addresses her past and her lost father in a physical way. So I think so there's a mimicking here, and I can connect to what Ariana said before here a little bit. So when her body begins to remember, the textile she works with becomes a narrative space in which she is able to disentangle her inner turmoil and unprocessed grief. So through embroidery, she binds her emotions into the body of the textile. So embroidery thus depicts her experience subjectively, bringing the reader closer to her emotional state. So, sorry, both Moisenen's work and Sahin's validate traditional work by women, connecting Moisenen's paternal Karelian roots and Sahin's roots to wider history. There's an echo of history reverberating in throughout these embroidered narratives. For Burcu Sahin and her debut poetry collection, Embroideries, from 2019, her memories are embodied in the labor of her maternal ancestors. And in an essay, she says that textiles are more than just yarn. They are memory. Migrants pack them in their bags to recreate the homes they have lost. So for Sahin, embroidery is very closely connected to her roots. Sahin depicts a generation of mothers, their diligence and sorrows, and the poems are constructed with a dichotomy of loss and sisterhood. With the help of seams, as seamstresses, they are able to regain a symmetry lost in their migration, so it becomes a memory carrier. And embroidery, threads, silk, weaving, stitches are just a few nouns of about 100 in this collection, that place textile into text, into its center. The arrangement of words emphasizes the relationship between text and textile, but the work is still in materiality a printed book with papers and with text as its basic medium. However, Sahin's many intermedial references to embroidery evoke an illusion of sewing qualities. So synesthesia enables the reader to perceive the tactility. And let me show you a few examples of that. So there's no translation here, of course, but I've put the translation at the very bottom here. The hand's memory is inherited. Gold stitches, cotton towels, stories around a kitchen table. The poem speaks of the hand's memory. The hand's memory is inherited. For Sahin, the memories are embodied, and her mother and grandmother's handiwork was a source of knowledge. Stitches and patterns can be deciphered. And this idea grew on her, that the language of fingertips and materials is tangible. So she started to write so as to create a space for herself in a language close to the silence of tactile communication, which speaks in a different way. In this one-line poem, I walk through stitching, in translation. In Swedish, jag går genom sömnaden. Here we have the last word, sömnaden, or stitching. And it is tracked by hyphens. Each letter is connected to the next, creating the word stitching. It triggers semiosis and the rhythm slows down, especially in the Swedish original version, because the first part of the word, söm, means seam, but the following letter, N, changes it in Swedish to sleep. And this linguistic play indicates that the activity is slow, silent, and almost, in this case, like a sleepwalking. So, in conclusion, textile is a medium that we primarily experience in a tactile way. But when it is remediated through another medium, such as a novel, a poem, a graphic memoir, or a film, we see it or hear it. But do we feel it when we cannot touch it? Sahin, Moisanen, and Schagerström's works of art have significant tactile elements in the images, text, structure, and composition. The synesthesia enables the reader to perceive the tactility and creates an emotional layer that connects the work to past. Embroidery can be a powerful tool for preserving expressions and revisiting memories. Thank you. We've got some birds there as well.